What's going on, everyone? You got TLR here, and it is time for our Week 11 battle of the PDL versus my friend Winmore and the Pittsburgh Steelix. If you didn't watch the team builder, that went up yesterday, or it should have at least. And you can see what Pokemon we're running, what kind of sets that we've come up with. It's a lot of really interesting stuff, a lot of abnormal sets this week. The Pokemon we brought is right here. We've got Clefable, Cryogonal, Gengar, Escavalier, Nidoking, and Gyarados. And we're going to, cross our fingers and hope they could put in the work they need to. And we're going to lock in because this is our only team that we have to bring. Alright, so looks like my opponent decided to bring Sylveon, Tangrowth, Slurpuff, Charizard, Rotom, and the Gliscor. So that's fine. I'm tempted to lead Cryogonal just because it leads off well against 3 of his 6, but I feel like he might expect that and lead off something that leads well against Cryogonal, maybe the Charizard. So I'm actually going to lead Nidoking, because Nidoking outspeeds every single one of his team, bar the Rotom possibly, and the Charizard, and maybe the Gliscor as well. So basically, I have a good lead against 3 of his 6, and against the other 3, I can easily pivot into something else. Although, even though I don't outspeed the Charizard, I can still Earth Power it. So yeah, this basically gives me a good lead against a good chunk of his team. And if you lead something like Sylveon and he decides not to stay in, I can get a Toxic Spike up. However, I do need to make sure my Focus Sash stays intact until that Charizard is at least weakened, because that Charizard can easily be a threat. Yukari is going to lead off with the Gliscor, that's fine. Um, of course, I could just stay in Ice Beam, but there's a good chance that he does have enough investment to outspeed me, so I do not want to risk that he has a faster Gliscor and Earthquakes me right here, because again, we want to keep our Focus Sash intact. Now, we could wish it up later with our with our Clefable, but I don't want to have to put myself in a risky position like that, especially when Cryogonal can easily take a hit from it. And outspeeds as well, so he can launch off an Ice Beam, or we can poison something on the switch if we think he's going to do that. If he doubles here, incredibly good play on his part. He could easily double the Charizard here, and that kind of puts me in a bad position. I don't think he'll attack right off the bat, which means I'll probably be able to get a poison, a Toxic off on it. But after that, we're going to be in a tough spot. So yep, I'm going to switch out Nidoking into our Cryogonal, and he withdraws. Okay, so since I withdrew first, that means that my Nidoking is faster. So yep, he goes into Charizard again. I don't expect him to attack right off the bat. He might not even be max speed, so there's a chance that I outspeed him as well. And therefore we can get the poison off on him, which would be really handy because this is a threat. Cryogonal, while it's really good against his team, I don't necessarily need it. I'll probably save it if he doesn't attack right off the bat. But either way, we should be able to get this Charizard poisoned. So he does go for the Mega Evolution, get the Toxic off, and I'm guessing he goes for the Dragon Dance. Nope, he does go straight for the Flare Blitz. Okay, so we do lose the Cryogonal, but he takes the recoil damage and he takes the poison damage, so his Charizard is weakened, which is exactly what we needed. Which means we also don't really need Nidoking's Sash intact anymore. But, I mean, Nidoking was the answer to Charizard in the first place, so we're just going to go in and launch off an Earth Power, especially now that we know we're faster than Gliscor, which is his pretty much primary switch into this Nidoking. So, or not primary switch into Nidoking, but that's his only ground immunity. He could, well, I guess he also has the Rotom, but Rotom doesn't want to take a Sludge Wave if I want it for that. However, since I'm not Life Orb, I don't know if Sludge Wave kills from this range, although after Poison it probably does. So he's going to withdraw Charizard into the Gliscor again. That's fine. Obviously, he's not going to be affected by the Earth Power, but since we did withdraw first, we did get to see that we are indeed faster than this Gliscor, or at least speed tying it. So we can just launch off an Ice Beam right here, and we should be able to knock it out. You could pull a double here into something like Sylveon, which is fine. I don't know if Sylveon takes an Ice Beam into a Sludge Wave. It's very possible that it does. Nope, he's just going to stay in, and we're going to get the Ice Beam off. And yeah, that's going to be a clean knockout right there. Alright, so the score is tied, 5-5. We still have to watch out for that Charizard, especially if it has Roost, because if it has Roost, it still has the potential to sweep my entire team if this Nidoking gets its Sash broken. So we have to make sure that if Nidoking's Sash gets broken, Charizard doesn't get a free Roost off, which I don't think it can against the remainder of my team. I think we have I think everything left on my team has a way to damage, threaten enough damage onto the Charizard that it can't get a free Roost off. He sends in his Tangrowth, so it's probably Assault Vest. He'll either go for the knockoff or the Earthquake here. So I'm tempted to go to Escavalier. Escavalier should be able to eat the hit pretty well. And if it's Hidden Power Fire, then obviously knockoff into Hidden Power Fire would be bad. But if it's not Hidden Power Fire, then okay, so he does go straight for the Earthquake. And we should be able to get a substitute up here. Because Hidden Power Fire won't put me below 1/4. And if he does have it, and if he decides to switch, that's a free substitute. So he does decide to withdraw, so that's really good for us because that gives us this substitute. Into the Sylveon he goes. Now, this is only a little bad because, of course, Hyper Voice does go through sub, but we do resist it if it's Pixelate. I mean, we resist it even if it's not Pixelate. I assume it's Pixelate, though. And we can just launch off an Iron Head here. Yep, we do see the Hyper Voice. This damage will also tell if it's a Specs. Yep, that's for sure Specs, which is good information. And this Iron Head probably knocks out a Spec set. Yep. So we get to knock out the Sylveon there, and we still get to keep our substitute up, which is honestly kind of better, because again, that Charizard is that Charizard is the biggest problem, so basically preventing it from getting a free Dragon Dance up is key in this matchup. Now, as long as we have the Sash intact on Nidoking, we're not out of it if he does get a Dragon Dance up, but it's always nice to, play safe and be in a bit of a better position. So he goes for the Volt Switch with Rotom. This will probably break my sub. He can go into Charizard here. However, if we land this Mega Horn, then he will take the Mega Horn damage and the poison damage, which means he pretty much can't get a free Dragon Dance up. He'll either have to Roost. Nope, he goes into Tangrowth. Okay. And we do connect. So if this is Assault Vest, it's probably Oko's. Yep. Oh, that's a critical hit. So if it had physical defense, then that crit probably mattered. I can't say for sure. Based on the fact that he sent it in against Nido King, I want to assume that it's Assault Vest. But again, he could have easily EV'd himself to live that. Tangrowth does have a good amount of physical defense, so if that crit did matter, then that is really unfortunate for him because he could have revenge killed my Escavalier and possibly put himself into a position where he could have Dragon Danced up. He's going to roost here. However, since I do have the drill run, I will be able to threaten enough damage to prevent him from actually making use of that. So as you can see, that does a good 65%, I want to say. Yeah, and stacked with poison damage. So that's why it was really important that we got that toxic off with Cryogonal. Just gonna go for another drill run. He could roost until he dodges, but yeah, that's just a risky game that he doesn't really want to play. So he's just gonna Dragon Claw, knock out my Escavalier. That's fine. And let's see. His Sylveon is down, so Gyarados can win. However, he still does have the Rotom, which threatens big damage. I do live, if it's a defensive Rotom, I live 2 Leaf Storms. So I'm tempted to just go for the Dragon Dance here. But I think he'll go hard Rotom, and I think getting damage on the Rotom is a little more important. It's not about whether he needs Charizard anymore. It's about whether he can let me get a free Dragon Dance. If he goes Rotom, and he's an offensive set, now I'm an offense, and he predicts me to be an offensive set with Ice Fang, and I get the Dragon Dance off, he's gonna lose. So he might actually just stay in and go for the attack. Although that doesn't do much for him, unless he goes for his own Dragon Dance. I'm going to Dragon Dance. So he does stay in. So he's trying to prevent me from getting a free Dragon Dance up, which is fine. He doesn't know that I don't have the Ice Fang or a lot of attack investment, so I can't really touch his Rotom until I get my boosts up. And I think he lives this turn of poison. No, he doesn't. Okay. So that was the third turn of poison. I was paying attention, thought it was the second. So we get the Dragon Dance up. He's probably going into Rotom here. He should live a crunch. However, we could rest. We also live a Leaf Storm from here if he's defensive, but I think he'd be Choice Specs. If he is Choice Specs, technically we do have the Assault Vest Gengar that can still kind of win us the game, per se. So I think I'm actually going to go for the rest. He could also be Scarf, which would actually, yeah, because if he's Scarf, then he probably outspeeds me. Actually, that's a fair assumption to make, that he is Scarf with enough speed to outspeed max speed Gyarados. Because then he doesn't need, But if he is Scarf, and he goes for the Leaf Storm here, yeah, I'm just going to go for the rest. Because if he's Scarf and he goes for Leaf Storm, then my Gengar comes in for free and wins at that point. That didn't do enough damage for me to think Scarf. I feel like an offensive Rotom would have done more. But yep, we rest up, become healthy. And based on that damage, it might actually be a defensive Rotom. He might actually go hard on... Oh, he Thunderbolts again. I was thinking he might go hard into Slurpuff, trying to bank on sleep talk rolls in order to get his belly drum up, because that's actually the one, not one chance he has at winning. But oh, he actually went before my Gyarados, so he is choice scarfed, which is actually good information. He's not doing as much damage as I thought Scarf might do. Maybe I EV'd this Gyarados too bulky. So pulling Sleep Talk here, pulling Dragon Dance there would have been good, but we pull Rest again. That's fine. But since we know he's Scarf now, I can actually hard switch into Nidoking, knowing he's locked into an Electric type move. And since his only two Pokemon left are weak to Poison, we can just launch off a Sludge Wave right here. Yep, that is going to cleanly KO the Slurpuff. And last is the Rotom. Um, okay, so we know he's Scarf. He can lock himself into Leaf Storm and go for crits, but that can. I don't think two crit Leaf Storms can knock out my Gengar. I'm actually going to switch to Gengar here, and the reason for that is because he could, based on the damage his Thunderbolt was doing, um, he might not be max special attack investment, and if he's not max special attack investment, then he could easily have bulk investment, which means he could have enough bulk to live his Sludge Wave from Assassinate King. Yeah, he's going to see this does very little damage. He's going to realize I'm actually Assault Vest, and the Sludge Bomb probably won't KO, but it will two-hit KO. Yep. Yeah, so this was just a way to preserve differential, since I knew he was Choice Scarf, had to lock himself into a move, and none of those moves he could lock himself into could sweep the rest of my team. So, yep, we're going to throw off one final Sludge Bomb and pull a W for week 11. Great game to my opponent. That's going to wrap up week 11. Pretty sure there's nothing else left. I have to left to touch on. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for the final week of the, not the final week of the PDL, but the final week of the, weeks of PDL, right? Because again, we have secured top cut at this point, so we will be able to hopefully pull through that, and maybe even come out with a W for the first season of PDL. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you guys later. So goodbye.